just in the last couple of months, since May, we've been working together. And I don't know her that well, but when I heard her story, I knew it needed to be blasted out, you know, everywhere, because her story is of hope and health transformation, and it includes the whole family. And she's part of our community. Our community is all about inspiring healthy living around the world. We're part of the Juice Plus company. She's a leader in the company. That means she has helped a lot of people get healthy over the years. And I know she has her children, she homeschools, she's also an author, and she has a special needs child. And that takes a really special parent to be able to be strong. I asked my husband, how would you describe Rhianna? And he said strong. And what an awesome word. So with that, I am going to introduce you to Rhianna and have her share. I'm just so excited that you agreed to this, Rhianna. And I'll let you go ahead and get started, and we'll come back to me in a little while.
All right. Thank you so much. Everybody, you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Thumbs up? Okay. I just have to first say thank you to Sharon and Doug for just the invitation to talk to all of you. And then I have to say thank you to all of you who is taking time to listen tonight. And my hopes are that tonight you will be inspired, that you will be as encouraged, but also that I might be able to challenge your mindset just a little bit. I guess the best place to start is at the beginning. Sharon's telling you that she heard my story and was immediately inspired by it. And so I'm going to start at the beginning with the decision that I made about 8 years ago to start living healthier. And that decision came with an epiphany that I had one morning, and I woke up and I was rolling out of bed and everything was snap, crackling, and popping. And I felt like I was like twice my age. And I had this horrible epiphany that I may actually perish before my daughter if I don't do something about my health. And that was a major concern of mine. And it was time for me to wake up at that moment. I guess I should maybe go back a little bit further, because why was I so concerned, right? So I'll go back a little bit further to my college years. And during my college years, I had become a raging sugar addict. I wanted all the sugars, like all the sugars. Little Debbie was my best friend in all the world. I had contracted a love affair with Oreos. Y'all, just a little show of a hands if y'all know what I mean by that. You're not alone. You're not alone, okay? There's a support group for that. And during those years, the sugar habit just became really real. And fast forward into my mid-30s, when I was in the midst of having babies. I had 3 kids in 3 years, and my oldest, like Sharon said, has severe special needs. And so all 3 of my babies were in diapers at one time. And y'all, by the time 1:30 came in the afternoon, I didn't know. I mean, I didn't really know which way was up or which way was down. I really was just trying to survive and make it through the day. My energy, my body had forgotten how to make its own energy. And I just became chronically fatigued. I did not have a taste for healthy foods, veggies, and things like that. So I was not feeding my body with the right kinds of foods. I began hoarding Oreos in my nightstand because I was a little bit feeling shameful for my addiction to them. So I was stashing them in my nightstand so they would be just right there, easy for me to grab. And I was having, I know there's maybe some guys on the call, so I won't go into a whole lot of details, but I was having some girly issues that were not fun. They were incredibly painful. And like I said earlier, I was feeling about twice my age. So back to where I was having this epiphany, right? I knew the family history. I knew that there was hypertension and that there were heart disease and all these things in my family history. And the heart palpitations that I was feeling in my chest, all the other things that I mentioned, I just knew that if I didn't change something, there was a good possibility that I might be too sick or too dead to really care for my daughter the way that she was going to need me to care for her. So not only was I feeling old, but I was also feeling majorly convicted, right? Majorly convicted about not being a good steward over this body that God has given me, and about not being a good steward over the task of being the very best mom and wife that I could possibly be. There was no way I could be that in the shape that I was in. So I was desperate. I became desperate to find some ways that I could start to change my lifestyle. And I began looking for some ways to like broccoli and trying to find ways to drink more water and do the things that I knew I was supposed to be doing. But y'all, it was hard. I didn't like to do it. I didn't want to do it other than the fact that I knew that I needed to do it. Fast forward about a year and a half to 2 years later, I was at a business networking meeting or lunch with a friend, and she asked me if I wanted to learn more about a way that I could flood my body with fresh fruits, veggies, and berries, but not just my body, the bodies of my whole family. Y'all, I said, I need to hear what you have to say because you don't know what I'm struggling with right now. And I told you some of my issues, okay, but my husband was also struggling with a very weak immune system, so weak that even in his 30s, he was dealing with the shingles virus, very painful shingles virus, flaring up in his body every summer. I was dreadfully concerned about my boys coming home bringing viruses and colds and flus home to their sister. And so that was a concern that I was always having, wanted to keep them from getting sick. And then my daughter had a host of things going on. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But I did say yes to hopping on the Healthy Starts for Families program and start getting some free Juice Plus to get into my children's bodies, my boys' bodies, because my daughter was not able to swallow or chew the chews. So my husband eventually got on it, I was on it, and my boys were on it. And we began to see some different changes within a few months. Next thing you know, I'm starting to crave healthier foods. Oh my gosh, I kind of like Brussels sprouts now. These are things that I was starting to realize. I began drinking a lot more water, y'all. I started to run, and running was something I had always been kind of too intimidated to do because I wasn't healthy. I wasn't really in a good shape to be running long distances. And I started running for miles, y'all. And I just began to feel stronger like I should in my 30s, right? In my late 30s and then moving into my early 40s. And so my husband has thankfully been able to fight off the shingles virus in his body. And he's eating more healthy than I am now, y'all. The man is eating things like seitan and tempeh and all kinds of tofu and things. And I'm like, woo, you got me beat on the plant protein there, babe. Good job. So we really have been experiencing a lot of different changes in our lifestyle, which is grateful. We're grateful for that. The energy in my body just kind of went. Everybody who knows me, who's ever seen me singing at church, they know that I do not have a problem with energy anymore. And the girly issues just kind of resolved. And so really just goes to show you how powerful plant nutrition is. But I mentioned to you that everybody in the household was able to take Juice Plus, except for my daughter. And she was probably the one, you guys, who needed it the most. So let me tell you a little bit about my daughter, Kaya. She was born with a neurological disorder called Rett syndrome. And for those of you guys who've never heard of it, there's probably a reason for that. Only about 1 out of every 10 to 20,000 girls are born with Rett syndrome every year. Very Few boys are born with it. And this is a neurological disorder. So essentially, to make a long story short of what it is it creates a traffic jam between the brain and its neural pathways and the rest of your body. So the brain controls pretty much every major function in the body, right? Digestion, how your heart beats, um, all the neural pathways and things, they kind of come from the brain, and even down to how your metabolic system works. Okay, and so this can cause a lot of issues for kids that are born with Rett syndrome. Um, she began having seizures at the age of about 3, and that's about right when we started to get it. Finally, got a diagnosis. It took 2.5 years worth of poking and prodding. She started out very normal. We thought we had a normal little baby girl in our hands, and she developed fairly normal up until about 8 months old, and we noticed that her hand movements and her coordination was regressing. So Rett syndrome is a regressive disease. So basically, even though she seemed kind of very normal in the beginning, she slowly began to lose skills. And even things that she could do really well, like feed herself and hold a cup and hold objects really well, she was losing those skills. By the time that she was about 10 years old, she was really losing her ability to even chew and swallow. So this is about when Juice Plus came into our lives. And at this point, we're dealing with seizures. We're dealing with a heart issue that caused her heart to beat irregularly. We're also dealing with chronic constipation, chronic fatigue, really bad digestion issues, so bad acid reflux caused her to vomit anywhere from 12 to 15 times a day. And her quality of life was not good. And her dad and I, we really just try to take every day, one day at a time, really trust in the Lord to guide us every step of the way, really trust in his word and believe that she has a purpose for her life. But it wasn't looking good, you guys. She was in the hospital almost every other month. And it became kind of like a second home for us, the hospital. And to be honest, I didn't want to have too many hopes of seeing her graduate high school. I didn't even know if she would get to high school, to tell you the truth. And so the fact that everybody else in the family were getting all this Juice Plus and she wasn't was a little bit heartbreaking, because I kind of wondered, gosh, what would this do for her? And fast forward to a period in my life, in her life, that I really dreaded. And that's when the doctors finally came to us and said, you know what? You really need to get her a G-tube. She's not gaining weight. She stayed at about 40 pounds for 2 years. She was literally like skin and bones. And she was so low and underweight that they had to wait about 3 or 4 times to do a scoliosis surgery, because her scoliosis had progressed so badly. And so the G-tube was something that we needed to do to get her to gain some weight so that we could have that surgery. And I really just had a hard time as a mama wrapping my head around a hole in my baby's stomach being fed by a machine. I just had a really hard time with it. And honestly, I didn't get past it without anything other than the grace of God, and just literally taking my hand and walking me through that. The one silver lining that I had about that G-tube was the fact that I knew that it was going to help us be able to control her level of nutrition, because we were really struggling with her not being able to chew and swallow as much anymore, and she just wasn't getting the nutrition she needed. So we were excited about at least being able to start getting Juice Plus in her body. So fast forward to her getting the G-tube and us being able to start getting a whole food formula made of all plants into her body, and some fruits, veggies, and berry powders from a capsule in a little bit of water and send it right through feeding tube right into her little gut. And I will tell you, I don't know, there were so many things that began to happen. The first thing I noticed, though, happened about 2 weeks after we got her started on the Juice Plus, and that was that her gums stopped bleeding. And I didn't know how big of a deal that was then, but later when we talked to her dentist, he said, that's a big deal. And so, fast forward to some other things happening, but I will just tell you today, my child is 16 years old, on her way to 17. Y'all, we have not been in the hospital for anything in over 2.5 years. The cardiologist has kicked us out of his office because the heart irregularity just kind of disappeared. And the vomiting every day has decreased to really only if her dad makes her laugh a little bit too hard. And the medications for that have either been, she's either been taken off of the medications, or she has been able to come off, be very, very diminished off of it. So she literally is only on one medication, and that's for a little bit of tiny acid reflux that still remains because of a hiatal hernia. But the seizure meds have gone away because she's been seizure free for 5 years. The pain meds have gone away because the inflammation in her body has decreased significantly. And then the heart medicine has gone away. So I'm obviously thrilled to know that my baby girl is probably gonna be around for a lot longer, than maybe what I originally thought. And obviously having a testimony like that has lit a fire under me. I have to share it with others because I realize that there can be other families out there that are praying for the same solutions that my family was praying for. There were some hard days in there, y'all. It was a lot of hard days, and literally the best thing I could do is just understand that God was with us all the whole time. Okay, the whole time. And here's what I want to encourage and challenge you guys with tonight. You were meant for an abundant life. We all were. Every single one of us are meant for abundant life. We were created for abundant life. And that doesn't mean that it's a perfect life. What that means is through the trials, through the bumps in the road, even through the tragedy sometimes, there's always a solution. There's always a solution. There's always an answer. And what I want to encourage you with is to don't be afraid to think outside of the box, because sometimes it's outside of your comfort zone. It's outside of the box that your solution and those answers may lie. Imagine had I not said yes to Juice Plus all those years ago, and I got to a place where I just was satisfied with the status quo, with what we were experiencing, and started self-sabotaging because I didn't have hope that there might be something that might help me. First of all, just to like things like broccoli and Brussels sprouts, right? And you just never really know. Most likely it might be that thing that you least expect that might be the answer and the solution that you're looking for. So as you're going through life, I want you to kind of imagine yourself in a box or in a room with a single closed door. And in that room, on all the walls, is everything that you're familiar with. It's everything that you know, everything you've always known, everything that you've always experienced, okay? And outside of that room is a whole world of people who are waiting for your talent, for your abilities, for your voice. And here you are stuck in a box, and all you have to do is open the door and walk out, get out of the box, because not only are there people out there that are waiting for you and maybe even waiting for you to serve them, because servanthood is, y'all, that's everything. Servanthood that's what Jesus taught us, right? Like the heart of a servant. But if you never are able to open that door and get out there, I will tell you your life will not nearly be as fulfilling, because all you're doing is sticking to what you know. You're not growing. You're not learning new experiencing new things. And that's really what changed a lot for me, not only, through this business, because it's been a very much a personal development course wrapped up in a business, but it's opened me up to other things. It's opened me up to learning about myself, that I know I am more fulfilled in life when I'm lifting people up. I know that about myself now, because I said yes to a home-based business, a network marketing business. Like, never thought in a million years that that might be the solution to help us be able to live the abundant life that we're now experiencing. So I hope that that encourages you today. And just remember, like, if you feel mundane, you feel that unfulfillment in life, challenge yourself to think outside the box. Have a little faith. Take a leap of faith. And remember that faith is the stuff that you hope for. It's the things that are not yet seen, right? So just because you don't see it yet doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I hope that that blesses you tonight, and I'll share it back over to you, Sharon.
Wow. Well, I'm pretty much not going to follow that. That was so incredible. Keep your mic on. I was going to explain, some things that you may have mentioned, but I think people probably would love to ask you some questions. And I love all the comments. I mean, people are loving your story and your passion. I was heartbroken when you described your daughter and how full of life she was, and her motor skills and everything, and then to see that deteriorate, that just, I'm sure it broke everybody's heart. So for you to be just shouting with glory about how wonderful she's doing, and she's now almost 17, that's
With
incredible.
an attitude, by the way, those hormones have kicked in.
I have that at my house too. Oh my goodness. So I know that people are probably going to want to reach out to you. They're going to want to know, how do you do the feeding tube and things like that. So, I think that whoever invited you guys, have a connection to Rhianna, so we can definitely get your answers. But if you have something right now and you want to put it in the chat, then we'll make sure that we address it. But everybody's just cheering you on. Okay. So everybody is so happy that this is how it's going. And so now, what from here? Maybe I should ask that. What else are you doing? And I just want to mention, Juice Plus is not about treating or curing specific conditions or diseases. It's plant-based nutrients, highly concentrated, and supported by 20 years of research. But there are those other things, the core four, we call them: water, exercise, slowing down stress, making sure you're sleeping enough, and eating whole foods. And I know that that's something that you concentrate on. And I loved seeing her story the other day. She's like lifting weights and she's running. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so inspiring for sure. Okay, we do have a question. Were you always a stay-at-home mom? The
Yeah.
recording is on Plant-Based Power on Facebook. Okay, that's the only question so far.
So, Dr. Nolani, hey girl. Hey, Dr. Nolani.
Yeah.
So yes, for the most part, because of the fact that my daughter's needs were so severe, we literally were going to the doctor's office for appointments with 6 different specialists all the time. And it was not realistic for me to really be able to hold a full-time job outside of the home. And that's one of the reasons why the mission of inspiring healthy living around the world has been such an awesome blessing for our family. And I will say that, for about a 6-month period, I did work as a chiropractor's assistant right after my youngest went into kindergarten. But that was just as I was starting with the G Plus mission. And honestly, my heart and focus was so much on that. That's all I wanted to do, in addition to homeschool my baby and be there for my daughter, get her to all the appointments and things that, that she needed to see the doctors and things at that time. So I do want to say, the road to health for my daughter was not overnight. It literally was probably about a 2 to 3 year period of just slowly but surely seeing this thing drop off, and then this thing drop off, and then this thing drop off. And now we're on the side of about 2 years of being almost medication free. And again, like I said, no hospital visits in 2.5 years. So different kind of life for sure.
You see that question?
Yes. So here's what I'll say. I'll say that it was an enhancement. It was a major enhancement. The question was, would you say that Juice Plus was the main thing that changed my daughter's life? And I say that it's a major enhancement to her level of nutrition. And the great thing about that is the fact that we have all this research that backs up people's experiences on the product. And that's something that someone can get for you if you want to see what some of that research is. But we know that Juice Plus decreases inflammation in the body because of the studies that have shown that. And that's something that I saw significantly in my daughter. And the heart health, that's another thing that's proven in a clinical trial. That's something we saw in my daughter that, significantly improved. And so, I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on. And so I won't say that it healed this or it healed that or healed this, but I'm telling you, y'all, the power of plants going in at that level of that quality, it was hugely impactful for her quality of life being what it is today.
Okay, and somebody wants to know, how do you add Juice Plus into the G tube? Are you gluten and dairy free?
Okay. Gosh, all the questions are pouring in now at one time. So I am not. I will tell you that my daughter Kaya eats better than anybody else in the house, because all she gets is what we put in her feeding pump. And so I would say, like, she's probably the healthiest person in the house now. Girl hasn't even gotten a cold, y'all, or a flu, and I can't even tell you how long, not even a runny nose. But so she has on a full, like a whole food plant-based formula, and then she gets, so how I do the capsules is I take 2 capsules of each blend, I twist them open, I'll just put it in a little bit of water like this, and if the water is warmer, the powders dissolve a lot easier and don't clump up in the water. And then I just pour that in her feeding pump bag and send it right on through. It's actually very easy.
I have a really couple great questions, and it's all about you. How do you find the balance as a wife and mother to take care of yourself, especially as a mom with a child with special needs, which I know how that is. Theda knows how that is, and Zandy, and I'll bet there's a bunch more. And then can you talk about your current book? So I'm not sure if that's related. I think you do have a book about that and how someone can purchase them. And are you working on another book? So I figured I'd lump all that together and you can do with that.
If I missed something, just let me know. So I think the first question was, how do I find the balance? And first of all, I don't believe in balance. I believe in harmony. There's a difference, right? Sometimes your life is going to be more of this, and that's okay, because it's time for that in your life. Like, it's going to be more, let's say, focusing on the family, okay? And then sometimes there's part of your life where I know I'm focusing more, I'm putting more work hours in because I'm going for a goal, and there's grace for that. I don't believe that there's this perfect yin-yang balance and everything, but I do believe that if you are putting your focuses where your focus are supposed to be for certain seasons of your life, you have certain grace to be able to do more of this in this part of your life, or less of this or more of that. Hopefully that makes sense. But there are things that I do prioritize. Okay. And that helps everything else, I think, just flow more nicely. Um, Theta likes the harmony part. But so we do something in this health of living community called the Shred 10 program. And if you get with the person who invited you, ask them to send you shred10.com website and look for my video, because there is a funny video there about me telling my Shred 10 story. If you don't know, I'm the skirt lady. You will know what that means later. And during part of what the Shred 10 is it's helping you to learn healthy lifestyle habits, not just for short term, but so that you can do them for the duration of your life as a lifestyle, right? And one of the things in there is to get 7 to 8 hours of rest, okay? 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And for me, that was really the challenge, because I like to stay up and like to be a night owl. I would put everybody to bed and then stay up and watch and just, veg out on something probably not really productive. But when I started doing the Shred with the Healthy Living community about 2, maybe 3 years ago now, that one part of it was something that I said, okay, I'm gonna really focus on this and make sure I get to bed on time, so that I can get up early enough to do my quiet time, get my workout in before I have to tend to my daughter, who has to be on the bus at 7 a.m. If I'm staying up till midnight, staying up till 1, watching stuff that I probably don't need to be watching, it's not helping me make money, it's not helping me make anybody's life better. Might as well get to bed by 9:30, 10 at the very latest, so I can wake up at 5, get my workout done, get my quiet time with the Lord, because that's the stuff that centers me. And then I can tend to my daughter, get her on the bus. This is back when we lived in Kansas City. Of course, right now she's not doing anything because everything is crazy. And then start homeschooling the boy, start a homeschool day by 8. And that's just been my habit for the last several years now. And it's what's worked really well to keep my day in a really good flow and to keep mom in a good mindset.
Okay, and then I know you wrote a book, at
Oh
least
yeah,
one.
and
Yeah.
so I wrote 2 books. The first one I was asked to write for teen girls, basically on their identity, being in Christ, and helping them with purity, and helping to fight against what's it called, peer pressure and drugs and alcohol, and how the media affects how girls think about themselves and things like that. So that's called Identity of Purity. So you can find that on Amazon. Just search for my name and it'll come up. And then the other book I wrote, the most recent book, is a book called This Special Life, Living with Special Needs and Loving It. And that one is just a perspective from a mom of a child with severe special needs, and the 3 biblical keys that I have learned and found that have helped me to kind of have a renewed perspective about this life of living a life with special needs, and how I've gotten to come from being heartbroken or bitter or angry to, oh my gosh, I love my life so much I wouldn't trade it for the world, so.
Okay, this could probably go on all night. People are loving you. Okay, was it hard to beat the sugar cravings? What major tools did you use?
So there's this thing called metabolic reprogramming. And it's what happens when you change your eating habits. And so when you decide that you're not going to eat tons of Oreos and oatmeal cream pies anymore, and you're going to flood your body with vine ripened nutrition instead, I kind of call it, it's going on under the surface, like it's on the down low, on the DL, that it's happening. I didn't really realize it was happening until literally one day I was like, dang, them Brussels sprouts look good. So it's actually a scientific thing. And it's not that I don't still have a sweet tooth. I still like to, like, if I'm at a birthday party, I'm not saying no thank you to the cake, most likely, unless it's like full of like the crazy colors of buttercream and stuff. That stuff gives me a headache because it's just too sugary for me now. My body is rejecting certain sweet, 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 sweet things. But I'm not obsessed over having to have all the sweets and things like I was before. I don't have to have it. I can say no very easily. And that's the thing, that's the difference between being an addict, being a sugar addict, and it's okay sometimes if I have a slice of cake here or there, but what comes home from the grocery store, I don't spend my money on that stuff anymore. Like it doesn't even come home from the grocery store. And that's also been helpful, is just to stop the habit of putting it in the cart. That is a huge thing. Just don't put it in the cart and it doesn't come home.
Was that part of Juice Plus helping you? Do you use the complete shake to help your sweet tooth?
It might have been. I do complete every morning. It's my smoothie or my shake. We do lots of things with the complete. I make pancakes with them. We make energy bites with them. Lots of different things. But I think that does probably help as well. I just think it's the plant-based nutrition, the increase of the plant-based nutrition in my body that's making more of the good guys in my gut saying, hey, we want more of this kind of stuff, and less of the bad guys saying, hey, we want more of this kind of stuff.
Okay, so any last words? I know we could take questions all night, but we've got to let these people go. And I did not explain Juice Plus. I want you guys to go back to the people who invited you. Just know it does have 41 peer-reviewed medical journals behind it. So it is quality. I've been using it for 20 years with my family. I think people love the inspiration from you. So I'm going to ask you for one last inspirational word before we go.
Oh, goodness.
He's loving you. I know I threw
yeah.
I mean, you've given so much. You don't have to, but you were.
No, it's okay. I got sidetracked by this. Tell how Juice Plus breaks down the oatmeal by Carmel. I don't know what she means by that. Carmel Parker.
Oh, when you put it in oatmeal, how the digestive enzymes or the plant enzymes, it breaks down instead of vitamins. We've seen those compared.
Oh, got you. Yeah. It's the difference between whole food or something synthetic, right? Well, I'll just close with, like I said, just an encouragement, because I think sometimes all of us, we get caught up on what we see right in front of us, and sometimes we get very disillusioned by the norm, the status quo. And I don't think abundance equals status quo. So if you just, like I said earlier, if you feel like you're living a mundane status quo, unfulfilled life, be brave enough to dig deep. Look at yourself, look at your life, think about what you want, and go get it. Focus on some new experiences. Be brave enough to think and to try and have a leap of faith, something new. Pray about it, but definitely don't be afraid to go for something new.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Rhianna. Everyone loved you. And so just get back with the person who invited you to ask any more questions or to connect with Rhianna. Thank you so much for sharing your heart. We loved your story, and we are absolutely inspired by you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming, you guys.
Awesome. You're welcome to unmute yourself and give some words to Rhianna.